Hello, Being at Work listeners, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we are tackling a challenge that so many leaders face. The world around us is changing faster than ever, yet 41% of leaders say they don't have time to learn. So how do you keep up, let alone lead through innovation and change when you're already stretched so thin? That is an important question I'm eager to dive into. So my guest today, Pete Van Overwalle, has made a career out of helping leaders answer that question. From hospitality to driving change at Roche Diagnostics to building his own businesses, Pete has lived the realities of adapting through disruption. He works with small and mid-sized companies to create the future they want through innovation, change leadership, and building what he calls Adaptability Quotient, which we will talk a lot about today. Pete believes the brain's favorite way to learn is to play. So he brings humor, creativity, and even some Ted Lasso energy to leadership development. In our conversation, we'll explore why inner work is at the heart of adaptability, how play can unlock learning, and how leaders can stop letting opportunity hide under their workbooks. Pete, welcome to Being at Work.
Well, thank you, Andrea. I just want to say, to quote the famous movie, Pretty Woman, stop. You had me at Ted Lasso.
Well, you had me at Ted Lasso. When we talked about this episode, you were talking Ted Lasso. So I'm like, we got to weave that in somehow.
Of course.
Because so many good leadership lessons point back to Ted Lasso, for sure.
Fully agreed. Fully agreed.
So I want to start our conversation with the stat that I shared in the intro. 41% of leaders say they don't have time to learn. And I can certainly relate to that. And there's this risk. I'm always afraid I'm going to fall behind. I'm not going to stay up to date. So tell us about that challenge and how are you helping leaders solve that?
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. I came across this earlier this year. It was in Forbes, reputable source. And it really struck a nerve for me because, at the end of the day, any leader that chooses to invest in him or herself is doing it for personal yet also professional reasons. Leadership is sometimes a lonely job, but we do it to make others better. And the sad reality is just the pressure and pace of work. We just don't give ourselves enough time. And there is this fallacy, if I have more time, then I'll put myself first. And I go back to what I've learned as a husband and as a father, as a leader. You don't have time for that because other priorities take place. So it does take some intentionality to really get there. And so practically, as I continue to grow Omni Touchpoint, my professional services firm helping mid-sized, low Indiana-based organizations grow with and through their people, we realized we needed to put the learning development opportunities in the flow of work. Because we don't get ready in life to do something and then do it. Sometimes you jump in the pool, assuming you can swim moderately, but then you learn how to get stronger. And I think that is the biggest mindset shift, is to jump in and start. Because once you start, the energy and momentum, the learning, positive or learning from mistakes making, it'll pull you forward. So practically, Andrea, I know you've had a chance to join us in one of the sessions. A business partner and I, who's big on AI literacy, Dr. Sandra Metzger, every Friday on LinkedIn Live between 12:15 and 12:45. It's a Friday. I hope you're taking lunch. By then, maybe the leaders are thinking about themselves as the momentum and energy of the weekend ahead is inspiring them to lean into one topic, one skill, one best practice that they can apply on Monday. So far, so good.
And it is such a good example of putting development activities into the flow of work. That experience felt like that for me when I joined one of your LinkedIn Learning Lives. It was in the middle of my workday, but it was just a quick 30 minutes. I got to connect. I also learned some things that I hadn't thought of and walked away with a different perspective. So I so appreciate that. Put the flow of development activities into your regular work rhythms.
Yeah, fully agreed.
So you have had quite a journey. Hospitality, black belt at Roche, entrepreneur, now like coaching, facilitating. What did you notice across these transitions that has led you to focus on adaptability? Like why do you focus on change, adaptability?
I'll go back to, what my background. My father and his father, I like to say I escaped New Jersey without an accent or an attitude. But my dad and his father owned a car dealership, and it was our family business. So I really grew up around this entrepreneurial mindset, working hard, taking care of your people. And my father gave me the opportunity to go into the family business, but I just said, Dad, I'm too adventurous. I have to go out and find my own path and my own way. So what was an early indicator of somewhat adventure in life and in business, getting something started, I was always gravitated to this new place. And so the theme that developed over time, whether it was opening up brand new hotels, from construction or shutting them down, renovating, walking in and we had file cabinets empty, hiring sales teams from the start, it was always about something new. And even in my Six Sigma work, it was there typically to fix a problem, which meant a new solution. And then in life sciences, launching medical device products is all about getting something that hasn't been there before. And so those combination of experiences, now I'll admit, the Six Sigma experience was probably the most formative because there are concepts and tools that are timeless. Still use them today. And I won't geek out on that. That could be a whole nother topic. But when I got to, just before COVID, as I realized I'd learned so much through success and learning in my professional career that I wanted to follow my own dream, my own why, which was to invest in myself and help organizations grow, it was still always with and through people. And, nobody really needs help to say, hey, I need help managing the status quo.
Right.
Because vanilla is just so vanilla today. We need some help.
Right.
And then fortunately or unfortunately, the trends of life and what's happening in the business environment locally, regionally, nationally, globally, it really forces us to say we need to really now question our relationship with change because of all the points I just highlighted. And it really sets to me the perfect storm. Now, fortunately for me, aligned with what I care about. And to maybe just wrap it up with one more comment, Andrea, there's two options when it comes to the change we experience personally and professionally. We either can survive it, get dragged along the sidewalk, skinning our knees, getting bruised and hurt, or we can choose to thrive in it. Lot to it there, but I'll just tee it up at that high level.
That's really good. And that leads into, I wanted to talk about adaptability quotient, which is something that you talk a lot about. And I suspect it is consistent with your questioning our relationship with change, you just said. Does my adaptability quotient give me an indication of what that relationship with change looks like?
Absolutely. So to put it in perspective, formally we call it adaptability intelligence. And to put it in historic context, for many years we've had IQ, the measure of smarts and knowledge. I don't even know what my IQ is anymore. I'm too old. I'm old enough not to care because I've gotten this far in my life without knowing it. But then, as many know, the rise of emotional intelligence, or EQ, which is our ability to regulate our own emotions, work well with others, critical at all stages of leadership growth. Given the rate of change, there's another Q that has emerged, and it's adaptability intelligence. So where the other two Qs are better for a world that's fairly constant, given the volatile rate of change today, that's exponential, which means 1 times 2 times 6 times 10 times 100, really begs us to question our relationship with change and say, wow, how adaptable am I? Now I have the ability to measure it, right? So you know how tall you are because you have a ruler. When I ask you how adaptable you are, and I ask hundreds of people how adaptable they are, and they kind of look up and they say, well, and that's the first opportunity where we want to self-predict ourselves in a positive way. So all these biases come in. And so using a statistically validated tool gives us a better sense to say, where are we in comparison to a goal that we have for the adaptability that we need to survive in life? How far am I from that? What can I do to get there? So it's a roadmap.
It's a roadmap. So what are some of the things that is measuring? Like, what are some of the questions or what are some of the things that the tool looks at to determine someone's level of adaptability intelligence?
Yeah, there's three things, and I'm going to answer them. But first, context. It wasn't baked in someone's garage last week. It goes over 7 years ago. An organization out of the UK, a thought leader globally of innovation, Ross Thornley, was working with the World Health Organization, who had a philanthropic mission to help people, societies, and cultures not get left behind in the global rate of change.
Okay.
So with that, this notion of change, what drives our ability to change at that level, adaptability was an obvious one. And I love this because all my involvement with adult learning, I'm probably involved with the Association of Talent Development, if you know that organization. Adaptability is a meta skill, which is, if people don't know what a meta skill is, it's a skill of skills. So when you have this, the skills around it are further amplified. Mm-hmm. And so it drives its importance. So the work was to turn to over 100 well-established scientific peer-reviewed and published articles that said these things have a correlation to adaptability, which is the driver of surviving or thriving through change. And with that came the model. Through statistical validation, hundreds of thousands of data points over many years, we now have this robust tool that can stand up when it comes to, is this a credible measure of my adaptability? So I promised three things. First of all, it's the ability. This is the strength of muscle that you have or don't have by how much you use it or how much you relax and it goes away. There's 5. The second is character. So how you and I show up and change, we're going to be different. So it's tied to nature, how you were born, and nurture your collection of experiences over time. Best way I can say this, Andrea, is you and I may be hungry, but you may crave sweet and I may crave salty. Both approaches are valid. Okay, it's not good or bad. It's just our style of how we show up and change. And the last but not least, most important, it's the environment that we're in. You know, I love when you look to nature. There's times where the climate may change or the food supply may change. Animals naturally migrate to better conditions from the south because the environment they're living in is no longer serving them. That's the same way in organizations. We can now measure how an organization's culture and their environment either supports or hinders adaptability, and whether that fits for the person in that role in that stage in their career at that time. And it's a healthy lens to look through, because if you can influence anything in your environment, and I think everybody can, it's not easy, then that may not be the right environment for you. Or more importantly, at the strategic leadership level, what's the culture that the leadership team is creating for the organization? If it's not supporting adaptability, what changes can be made to foster that for the workforce that desperately needs it moving into the future?
Yeah. I love the combination, ability, character, and environment, all markers in how adaptable I am as a leader. Because I can, as you were describing those, I can absolutely see that. Are they equal in weight?
They're not. Insightful question. Ability comes into about 50% of the measure. Character comes in at 22%. Character's hard. It's sticky. I mean, you can change your preference for food like that, but it takes time and intention. And environment comes in at 28%.
Okay.
But I'll give you an example since you brought up the science and math behind it. So, you know, hope is not a strategy, right? At least in business, we know that. But hope is a character trait. Some people by nature and nurture are more hopeful than others. And hope has a 0.63 positive correlation to adaptability.
Yeah.
So a hopeful team or a hopeful organization is going to be more adaptable. We can measure that. And if it's not where it needs to be, that drives a strategic discussion for leaders to say, "Oh my goodness, what can we do to help increase the hopefulness of our team?" And there's real stuff to be done there. There's real programming, there's training, there's talent development, there's experiences that I focus on. So we just don't measure it and say, "Okay, have a nice day." Now we can do something about it.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? Because I suspect, adaptability is broad when you break it down the way you have. This assessment gives you focus.
Yeah.
And opportunities.
Absolutely.
Pointing out the opportunities. I would suspect that most leaders would say, well, I'm adaptable. I mean, I live in this world. Of course, change is only constant. I'm adapting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do leaders underestimate their adaptability?
It's a fair point. I haven't done a study on that necessarily, but anecdotally, I think they tend to overestimate it, because many of us think about the things that we've done that we had positive outcomes from. Now, granted, there may be that lesson learned that goes back to, say, I was painful, but I got on the other side of it. That shows up too. But, my favorite parallel question is, well, how did you sleep last night? Right? People say, well, that's kind of good, or my neck's a little stiff, or I woke up a few times. That's all good and fine. That's qualitative. But, if you've got an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, you can get the metrics to show percentage of REM sleep and deep sleep. When I know I hit those two combinations, 40 to 50%, I know why I wake up like a rock star the next day, because I'm well rested. So it's, if anything, I think the best thing for a leader to do as they are knowing themselves is to be curious. Because my 4-step leadership model is know thyself first, lead thyself, lead others, and march them towards a vision. So this is that inner work. And if it can stem from curiosity, that's a great place to start. Now, one thing I'll also like to share is people sometimes, there's a lot of assessment fatigue out there. I mean, I'm certified in a whole bunch of them, and I have a lot of respect for people that just have been overassessed. But at the end of the day, if it creates some curiosity, great. I've coached over 250 people in the past 2 years in this craft. The key takeaway is there are strengths that you have in adaptability that you just haven't been able to claim yet because you didn't know it. And so let's start with the positive, right? Because we all feel good about that strength. You can be more confident and lean into, or if I have a positive mindset, now I can measure it. Now you've got the ability to lead others or lead the organization in a way that really focuses on leveraging that natural strength, the smartest thing to do. And conversely, there's usually 1, 2, or 3 areas that fall a little short of where the person would like to be. And that sets up, whether it's the coaching or at the organization level, some formal learning experiences in a variety of ways that I do. It creates a roadmap for progress.
Yeah. Well, and starting with the strengths that it built, it's momentum, isn't it?
Yeah.
It helps people get on a roll to then address some of the opportunity areas.
Fully agree.
So you talked about the inner work. Going back to leaders feeling like they're stretched really thin. You talked about, integrating development into the flow of your work. Like that's a strategy for making space for inner work when I feel stretched thin. What other guidance or strategies do you help clients with? Because I don't have time. I have a business to build. I have responsibility. I have a family. I can't take time for this inner reflection.
Well, I think there's no perfect answer because it's a matter of continuous commitment and refinement. But there's some practical things. We've all heard of what we call them red X days. It's that one day in your calendar you block out for yourself. There's games I play with myself. I've got a whiteboard in my office with a fresh ink pad and sticky notes and such, and I at least try to get there for 30 minutes once a week to do that. There's other ways of doing it. I have windshield time when I'm driving. Yeah. I like to turn on my hands-free, safe Chat GPT and put it in voice conversation mode. And I can think out loud and have someone that's safe and somewhat objective to converse with me on some of these topics. So I think it does take some creativity to get here. Sometimes, having an accountability buddy or someone that's on a similar journey to you to say, hey, how's it going this week? Did you get some of your whiteboard planning time in or not? Those things help. But I want to go back to still the basic premise is don't look to get good at it or know how to do it and then order to do it. The bus will never get here because it's already left.
Yeah.
Recognize that you're going to do it in the flow of work. And what a leader can do, most importantly, if they're going to look to grow something, maybe it's creativity or innovation, or maybe it's around problem solving, bring your team into it.
Yeah.
Right? Allow the diversity of a team to work with you on it. And then together you're growing.
Yeah. So innovative approaches. And you also talk about, making it fun. So weaving humor and play into learning. Why does the brain love play? And how does that help from a learning perspective?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. I've done a lot of study on this. There's actually 5 things as it ties to science. Now, I'm not going to bore all of us through these 5 things, but I picked 2. And so first of all, one is what they call this healthy tension. And it's called eustress. which is healthy stress,
Huh.
right? Because I use a musical instrument. If you take a guitar, for example, if you tighten it too much, it risks breaking. If it's too
Yeah.
loose, it's sour, it won't play a note. But when you have just enough tension, that's where the sound is made. And so this is what they call positive stress. We're in this manageable zone. So healthy tension, positive stress is one. The second one is scientifically, it's called reward prediction error. And there's three parts of the brain. I'm not a great anatomist, nor those big scary words, especially on a podcast, so I'll skip those. But parts of the brain that unite, one that drives motivation, one that drives focus, and one that drives memory. So you have all those activate at the same time. That's what sticks. Not to mention, hey, it's just fun. And when you put
Yeah.
people into a game, so I do things from 60-minute lunch and learn events up to 90 minutes. I can do up to a 2-day innovative workshop where people are coming in with raw ideas, walking out with prototypes that could be implemented or invested in, right? And when people get into those role-playing, game-playing scenarios, first of all, it's a level playing field. You're not big bad boss director. I'm not individual contributor. You're not department Y. We're all together now on the same team. And then people are motivated by this healthy tension in two ways. Some people just want to win. We can't fault them for that.
The competitive spirit.
Yeah, and some people aren't competitive that way, but particularly if you're a high C in the disc wheel, they want to play the game right.
Yeah, of course.
So they want to say, am I following the rules? Am I doing this right? That also creates healthy tension that triggers this trifecta of motivation, focus, and memory to interact with and through the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think of as a facilitator coach, but also as a participant in those exercises. It brings me in. It's an experience.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I mean, I appreciate you highlighting the science behind it, but it's like, of course, it's going to be more memorable. I'm going to retain it more so.
To me, a key indicator of success is someone is telling a friend or someone outside of work what they went to this past week and the experience that they had. That's a game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love starting sessions with, there's my favorite icebreaker is a bunch of different dog expressions and asking people, choose the one that most matches how you're feeling right now. Because it just immediately engages people. It's a visual. It's disarming.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about how I'm feeling in a fun, interactive kind of way. And you can just see the tone every time. You can feel and see the tone that it sets for engagement and interaction. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, I'll add, Andrea, it's safe. That's the part I didn't call out either, is just we knew you need to be in environments which are safe in order for us to take the risk to take a little bit of learning in that way.
Right. Instead of saying, how are you feeling? I'm saying, like, look at these cute little expressions and choose the one that matches how you are.
Yeah.
So then people will say, like, I'm totally overwhelmed. I look like that. I look like that. The crazy dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. That's a good one.
Yeah. Good. So how do I, pulling this all together, how do I assess and improve my own adaptability? So you talked about this assessment. Is it necessary that I take an assessment? How do I determine my level of adaptability intelligence?
I think first of all, change comes when we're aware of something. So the first place I encourage people to spend some time thinking about, and it's self-reflection, is simply this. The slowest rate of change you will experience for the rest of your life is today. It's just true. Are you okay with that? And if it's getting faster and getting faster, what does that look like in your professional world, in your personal life? And from the change that you can predict, because don't forget, there's change that we can see coming and there's change we can't see coming. Are you well suited? What is your relationship with change? Is it where you want it to be? And if someone can discern through that in a way that's positive, that's great. I'd say, hey, you've asked yourself this question, do it again in 6 months, because the change is going to still continue to build and build and build. But if there's some uneasiness, or sometimes it's just, to kind of stir the inner fire of a leader to say, I think this is something that's really going on that I need to develop and grow as a leader, then there are some formal pathways. By all means, there's videos about the adaptability quotient. People can school up on it. My favorite entry point is to engage leaders on a one-on-one basis. So yeah, that would be taking the assessment, 30 minutes of time, answer questions that are neither right or wrong, save confidential experience. And then at that point, you've got your assessment, you've got your report. And that can be the one and done, just self-reflection. What can I glean out of this? It's typically best coupled with one, at a minimum, maybe more coaching sessions to be able to unpack this, to get to something that's really prescriptive. So at the end of the day, what a leader wants to know is as he or she looks inside, comes to the conclusion, good, bad, not far enough, then what do you do about it? And that's the key, getting it into an action plan that has forward progress.
Here's what I'm seeing in my curiosity, and then putting a plan in place to improve in some areas. And so having a coach in that journey is really helpful.
Yeah, fully agreed. And then to bring it back into the flow of work, a leader that walks this path will find there are opportunities to grow their own adaptability, again, with and through their people, influencing the environment. And some of the most rewarding work that I've done has extended from those individual opportunities. And now we work for an entire team, or in some cases, the organization, because now we're talking about adaptability as an up and coming key performance indicator for chief people officers.
Oh,
right?
Not surprising at
I mean,
all.
I firmly believe this KPI on change readiness, reskilling index, change uncertainty are now numbers that deserve to be at the senior leadership table for discussion every year.
Yeah, most definitely. And doing the work with your team, as you were just saying, it infuses it into the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it something that we share and that we all strive for, which certainly reinforces it.
Yeah.
The phrase agile has been really popular the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Is agile leadership, adaptability intelligence, is it all the same thing? What's different about agile?
So they both begin with an A. That's similar, but they are different. It's two sides to one coin. So often confused, but adaptability, I'm going to correlate that to the muscle. It's the strength, how strong it is, how much it can do, how flexible it is. Agility is the action. All right. So I can be strong, but if I just sit here and don't do anything, I don't produce results. But if I'm strong and I choose to move ahead the object from this point of the room to that point of the room, put those two things together, two sides of a coin, you have something that's put in place.
I see.
Yeah.
So as you improve your adaptability intelligence, naturally you become more agile.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the problem with agile teams is just sustainability. And that's why when we're looking at adaptability, two key elements there. So making them move fast is great, but people have a hard time doing it over and over and over again. So we measure grit, the ability to go the long distance. Then we also measure resilience, which is, it's a long-term game, but how quickly do you bounce back from setbacks? All those things are critically and most directly aligned to this adaptability, agility question that you've raised, which, further rounds up the point. The other three, so people have this in their minds. The other one is mindset, which is tied to positive psychology. It's either a fixed or a growth mindset. The third is, thinking style. So is it like big picture or details? And last but not least, your ability to unlearn, which is to let go of old habits. Very powerful.
Did you love Adam Grant's book, Think Again?
Yeah, it's a classic.
All about unlearning.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that really resonated. It also frees us up, because I think we get so focused on like, this is the way, this is how I've always done it, which hinders all kinds of things. So that unlearning concept allows me to it allows me to be brave enough to suck at something new. It's like, I don't have to have it figured out.
Yeah, agreed.
So we're going to test your adaptability intelligence. We're going to do something I didn't tell you we were going to do. I have a little deck of cards.
All right.
So we have learned a lot about the work that you do. And so this will be fun. I'm just going to pull out from this deck of cards. This is going to give us a little more insight into who Pete is.
Okay, great.
So I'm just going to pull a card. You tell me. Blue, navy, red, or light blue?
Let's do navy.
Let's do navy. I have no idea what this says. Oh my gosh, it's a bit morbid. But we're going to trust it.
Okay. All right.
Would you rather die before your partner or after your partner?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Oh, goodness. That's a hard one. My wife and I talk about going off the cliff together, in all honesty.
Okay. So if you
Yeah.
would just go out together, that would be your choice.
Yeah. I want to say after. I want to just get everything cleaned up before I join her on the other side. As a husband and father, it's my job to lock down the house at night to make sure everything's just okay before the next day.
So how does your response align with what you know about your AQ?
Yeah, well, it's that's a great question. How do I correlate the two? One, it just stems from this positive mindset, which is more about giving, optimism. Plus, part of hope is agency. So it's the ability to know that I've got pathways and options. So even just the fact that I was given a choice there empowers me to think about it in a positive way.
Yeah.
But, maybe not in the AQ model is just this mindset of abundance that I try to live by.
Yeah.
And this servant leadership style of, my belief is we're here for a certain period of time. Let's make this world a little bit better of a place than when we found it. And if I can do that, then I think I've been okay.
Yeah. And I just want to affirm that in you. I have gotten over the last couple of years to see you in lots of different environments with different groups of people and for different reasons. And that is consistently how you show up with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of positivity, a lot of openness, a lot of curiosity. So thank you for modeling that for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, a couple places. It's good old-fashioned LinkedIn, Omni Touchpoint. Pretty easy to spell. Follow us there. I do continue to host those LinkedIn Live, the Adapt Edge, Power to Grow, and the Flow of Work sessions every Friday. They're free. You're welcome to stop in, whether you're eating lunch or not, and benefit from that. Let's connect, obviously, on LinkedIn or my website, Omni-TP. Pete Vio at omni-tp.com. Great place to connect there. Or just, probably see you at some type of leadership networking event in Indianapolis. It's a small town, but still a big town to grow. So I'm typically out there quite a bit.
It is. And for our global listeners, you should check out on Fridays, he referenced earlier, but you should check out Pete's LinkedIn learning sessions, half-hour learning sessions.
Love to have you there as well.
So I would summarize this entire conversation as the pace of change is not slowing. You have reinforced that multiple times. Leaders who want to cultivate adaptability through play, inner work, and humor will create the future they want.
Agreed.
It's a very empowering message. So thank you for inspiring and sharing all this great insight today. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. And everyone, keep calm and adapt on.
Well played. Thank you, my friend.
Take care.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Let's connect to go a bit deeper. How can I help you? Looking for an executive coach, a facilitator for a team or leader engagement, or a high energy, heartfelt speaker? Learn more and connect with me through our website at abundantempowerment.com. I look forward to co-creating something magical with you.